The Big Daddy Football family. I'm back again. I'm doing Orlando Pirates versus Al Ahly, CAF Champions League match. I think match 6. We know Orlando Pirates is already through. Al Ahly is already through. Orlando Pirates is 11 points. Al Ahly is at 10 points, and they are playing Cairo. What was also interesting is I was looking at Orlando Pirates and looking at the team that flew to Egypt, and I noticed that they actually took their best squad. Bonebo Rele, Bonebo Mabasa, Bonebo Makaula, Bombata, Sesane, Lebito, Gosnatis Bisi, Chaine. So I think Orlando Pirates are taking this game and they want to actually win that group, because the other aspect as well is that if they finish first in the group, right, they are going to be seeded. The first and the second team, they're going to be in different pots, and then they're going to play against each other. So you are likely to actually play against the team that finished second on the other side, right? Then the other element as well is the second leg of the quarterfinals, the home match. I mean, it's going to be a home match, and I think that's what Orlando Pirates want in this particular game. So I think they have brought their best team, which means they want to win, and I'm sure Al Ahly will also do the same, because there's always rivalry existing to that team. But a club that can beat Al Ahly is Orlando Pirates, right? I think if you look at their head-to-head, you will find the Orlando Pirates have won 3 times. There have been 3 throws. Al Ahly has won 1. I think Orlando Pirates have scored 9. I think Al Ahly has scored 6 in this particular match. So for me, that will be interesting. But how the match turns out, basically, will depend on a couple of factors. Number one, we all know Al Ahly, when they're playing at home, they play differently than when they play away, right? Also, who scores first is going to be important, because if Al Ahly score first, they go defensively, and they've got a well structures, the defensive schemes and defensive shapes in this particular match, and they are difficult to break. But guys, let us look at Al Ahly closely. Maybe let's start look at what makes them the club that they are, what makes them the monster that they are, and how have they won the CAF Champions League 12 times, because they have mastered how to win this particular game, right? But for me, the one biggest element is they like to drag team, even North Africans general, they like to drag them into the pitfall. They like to drag you into a certain zone or into a certain pitfall where you cannot box. And then that's where then they win games. I think sometimes against Esfa, they were dragged into the box or into that pitfall where they could not come out, because they want to frustrate you at a point that you will start, even not even thinking about the game anymore. They take you the concentration out of you in the particular game. Secondly, they bring those dark arts into football, and we're gonna go deep and look at it, right? But for me, the most important thing is they win the psychological battle even before the match, right? Even before the match, because the atmosphere that they create at Cairo, it's something else. The supporters are involved into that. When you look at that match played at night, it seems like a war zone. It is red all over, with lasers, with lights, those red lights, the entire, it's like you're in a war zone. So they also include their supporters to work on your psychological. But the techniques of the dark arts that they use, right? They will always glamour reset, especially when they are leading, right? They will also intimidate the referees, intimidate the players. And most of the time, the referees will always be on their side. And whenever they win one foul from the referee, they celebrate like something is out of it, just to frustrate you. They like pushing the envelope and want you to get a reaction for you, go for you. They want to get you cautioned, and if they can, those guys can dive, guys. One touch to them, they are diving, and they want to get you yellow card, the red card, and everything. But for me, most importantly, when you're playing Al Ahly, you need to have your emotional intelligence in check for you to win this game. If you don't, they're going to win the psychological part. Because for me, half of how they win is not in the field of play, is how they work on your mind to be able to win the game. But for me, Singing tactical, I think they are the most tactically disciplined club in the entire continent, and normally they will always employ coaches, the best coaches, and all those coaches are defensively sound, right? But for me, most importantly is how they don't use individuals. Most of the time, individual brilliancy. They always win with a collective effort, right? In all phases of the match, they will always be working in unison, right? So all phases, in and out of possession, in transition, in set pieces, they work together and they work like a unit, right? They've got a very, very, very good defensive structure that is difficult to break. It's well structured, well drilled, and they carry out those instructions for the entire 90 minutes and beyond. But for me, is their Eurocentric defensive schemes, right? Because out of possession, every man is behind the ball. They've got those three lines that they normally have, because they play a 4-4-2, and those three lines, so it will be a 4-4 and then 2. But how they are very compact, they are very narrow, they don't open space into them, right? And they make sure that they closed it. It's so tight and neat that you cannot able to break it, right? The last thing is that the other thing that I like about this, how they drop the last line closer to the goalkeeper to close the gap between the goalkeeper and the last line, because they hate defending facing their goalkeeper. It's their nightmare, right? They always play to their strength, guys, but they always try and avoid any team to expose their weaknesses, right? So for me, where Orlando Pirates is also likely to score is to create those situations where they can play the ball over their last line and make them run facing their goalkeeper, and then they hate defending into that. They also don't like defending space. If there is a huge, that's why they play very compact and narrow, because they hate defending space, because they are not one of the quickest players. Their left back and right back, they are not the quickest. And if Orlando Pirates want to win this game, they need to create a 1v1 situation with those two players, right? That's why at times you'll see them overloading on the right hand side, overloading on the left hand side, so that if you beat one, there's another one. They always create those overloads so that there's high chance they win the ball into those areas, right? Also, the other thing that they hate is a club that's going to have the ball more than them, because it frustrates them to keep on defending. But their counter press, it's second to none, and that's how they win games and win possession higher up the field, and they will kill you with those transitions as well. They also don't like defending against quick players, dribbling wizard, and they don't like a team that play combination play like Orlando Pirates and fathom them very quickly, right? But their strongest point is their BMT, guys, big match temperament, because I honestly think they know how to play these big games. They don't, when they're playing a key game, you can see with this team knows I have been playing this thing for so long. So to them, it's like an easy, it's easy, it's natural in them. But for me, it's how physically they are. They are big boys. Big because they're aggressive, they will tackle you. But the other thing, guys, you don't let them get into the crossing zones. All the goals that I've seen scoring the Champions League is them coming from the crossing zones, and they don't cross only maybe Ebola Ekanda. They also cross inside. They always have a player that is going to delay a run into the box, right? Which is very, very interesting. Aerial threat, they got good headers, guys. They are center backs. On set pieces, guys, that is where they also strive on, because they like scoring from set pieces and they are very good. Transitions is another one that I've mentioned. Players to watch: number 22, Imam Asho, I think is the creative heartbeat. I think he's already scored 4 goals. Number 13, Mawan Acha, deep lying central midfielder. I think he has already 62 completed passes in the CAF Champions League. I think Tebokom Kwela is about 64. As I said, guys, I always ask this: where are the spaces, right? And Analyst to Liverpool will always say, where can we have an extra man? So this thing completes each other, because when I say where are the open spaces, and then Analyst come and say, when can we have an extra man to exploit the spaces? So where are the spaces, guys, that Orlando Pirates can explore, right? Pep Guardiola split the field into 20 zones, right? And I'm gonna probably explain where. I think let's look at the 13 and the 15 zone. Is where you are going to find pockets. They tend to switch off into that area, and they leave that area unguarded. They leave that area undefended. That is the area that Orlando Pirates need to explore. Quick combination play there, half turns there, quick passing into that area, and having that extra man into that area. That is the sweet spot to hit Al Ahly. That's number 1. Number 2. There is another area in the far zone, like where you've got your right back and your left back, right? It is where, guys, you see, it is where they don't like to get in, they don't like to create 1v1 situation into those. If you could create situations where you isolate the right back and the left back and you run at them, that is where you are. It is zone 11, zone 12, zone 18, as well as zone 16, 17, and 18. Right, that is where you need to catch them on the break using, your pacey players, your dribbling wizard, and create those 1v1 situation, those areas. You are highly likely to get something out of it, and that's where they are vulnerable. Where do they also switch off, guys? When you attack them on one side, they have a tendency of overloading that side, and they always leave their pivotal space unguarded. And you need to get the likes of Mbata, into that particular space. You need to get the likes of Tito, the likes of Kota to crash that area. But most importantly, it needs to be a delay run into that area because it is always isolated in the space that exists there. Please comment, like, and also tell me anything that I might have missed tactically about this particular game. Away.